If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. Today we are continuing on with our Laravel Breeze project. And what I want to do is set us up so that we can display some temporary vehicles. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead, log in. And if we go to the dashboard, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another link here to be able to send us to that page. But first, let's go ahead and deal with the vehicles. I'm going to go ahead, open up a terminal. And then I want to make a model. And it's just going to be super easy. It's just going to be a vehicle model. We'll make a migration for that and a factory for that. We can also go ahead and make a controller for that. And we'll make it resourceful so that we can use all of the resource routes. So we have a vehicle model, factory, migration, and the controller. So let's go ahead and start with the migration. In the preview video for this series, I said that we would be using UUIDs, and we are going to do that. We're also going to have a relationship to the users, but for now, I just want to keep it super simple so that we can get something shown on our pages. The first thing that I want to do is start filling out some details about these vehicles. So for now, I want to have a make for the vehicle. I want to have a model for the vehicle. And I also want the year. Now, Laravel has a helper that we can use in here, which is just year. And as you can see, it's a column that will specify that it's a 4-digit year system, right? So we can go ahead and add that here. Then I also want to do an unsigned big integer. And for this, I'm going to make it price so that we can have a price. You can use the decimal function. There's also a float function in here that you can use for these tables. My personal preference is when it comes to numbering, a numbering system, is to just use integer, because then you can either manipulate it with PHP or you can manipulate it with JavaScript, and you won't have weird rounding errors that you get sometimes with using decimals and floats. You can use them if you want. For me and my purposes, this is my preference, to use unsigned big integer. If you decide not to use this, then I cannot guarantee any errors that you have involved with the prices. I'll leave that at that. I also want to do a text field so that we can have a description for these vehicles. For now, I also want an image, but we're also going to add a default. Now, we're not actually putting in images into the database. We just want to put paths in the database so that we can connect them to our app. The images will be in our app. You can also use something like storage space or cloud space or whatever you're doing in production. But for our purposes, we're only going to have a few vehicles. We don't really need to do anything too crazy in here. So this one, the path for us is going to be defaults and then no image.jpg. So before I forget, I do want to add that image in our storage app, public images. We have a defaults folder in here with some images already, but I do want to have this no image. In the coderprise assets folder here that I have, I'm going to open up the images folder, the defaults folder, and then now I can go ahead and just grab this image so that as we see this database, we don't actually have to have it so that the image is nullable. We'll just insert this image in automatically, which won't really affect us too much, but this is where it is. Now, if you're curious about this assets folder that we have, I mentioned in the setup video that there is a download link that will be in the description where you'll have access to all of these images that we're using temporarily. There's also an attributions file where you can see where these images come from. And that's pretty much what that is, right? That's where we're getting that information. So now we can go ahead and start adding these to the model. For now, I'm going to put it here so that I can grab those fields. We can go ahead and get rid of this. And so now our model and our done and dusted. The other thing that I want to do is want to grab these, and I also want to set up the factory to have these fields. Now to keep this simple, I'm just going to grab these. This faker word. We have the model, we have the make, and we have the year. And faker also has a little helper function for year, so we can add that to that. And we can also do price. And for price, all I want to do is this faker number between, we'll say 99.99 and 99999. And then we can leave that at that. Description, and just put this faker paragraph. And that'll give us about 3 sentences per vehicle. And the next thing that we can do is the image. And what I want to do is I want to grab the shortcuts for these. In our assets file, I go to the images folder, and I go down to attributes. If you go down a bit, you can see that we have this list of numbers in here. Because these are Unsplash images, we can use these like this and then loop over it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable. I'm going to go ahead and paste these in. And surrounding each of them, just going to put some quotations around them. I use single quotations. This isn't exactly a necessity. You can use double. Just no matter what you do, just make it consistent with everything that you do. If you're going to use single quotations everywhere, then use them. If you're going to use double, use them. I typically use single for things that I do or things that I have changed, and double quotations for other things, for things that are in like defaults or something. That's just my rule of thumb. And use this image as variable and use the random. And now that will loop over this list of images here. Let's make sure I imported it, and it is Illuminate Support Array. Let's go over to the Cedar, and now we can loop over this factory. Instead of user here, we'll say vehicle. Let's try to add that migration and then run the factory. Let's look at the database real quick. So in our database, if we go down to vehicles, we can open up the table. And as you can see, we have a make, model, a year, we have a price in just integers. And then we also have the description. And this is going to be the path to our images. We have a created and updated at. Now we should be good to be able to display this. So let's go and work on the controller so that we can get a view for this. We can go ahead and close this out and then go over to that vehicle. Well, let's make the web route. I don't want to put any middleware or anything on it just yet, just so that we can have something to see. So I'm going to drop it right in here. Call it vehicles. That'll be the route. Be the vehicle controller. We'll use the index function for that. And then we'll name it vehicles.index. Make sure to import this. And there it is right there. Let's go ahead and close these out. And then we'll open up the controller. Start here with this function. Do is I want to return a view, and the view will be vehicles index. Then I want to pass in vehicles. Then we'll just say vehicle get. Because we ran the resource when we were creating the model and migration, at models vehicles already imported up top. There's nothing else that we need to do for that. As you can see in our functions, it has already been added as a model so that we can also leverage root model binding. And this, I want to put a comma instead of that. So this is something else about Laravel Breeze or Blade or anything like that. You can name the routes in the view and it'll still recognize it as a view. But because my extensions aren't underlined, that's just because we haven't created it yet. So let's go to Resources, Views. I'll create a folder called Vehicles. And then since we're following the principles of the resource controller, we're also going to do the same thing for the pages. So vehicles index.blade.php. So for now, I'm just going to put some temporary scaffolding. And here I'm going to add, you have to forgive me, it's been a while since I've really dealt with Blade files, so some things I am going to forget, but we're going to do the best that we can. Also in the navigation component, but in the layouts, navigation.blade, I'm going to copy this because I want to create another link to that vehicles. You can also do it here so that when we shrink the page, we'll still have that access to that link as well. If we minimize it, is here. Let's check the browser. See what's up. Didn't create a full. Okay, so let me do this. Vehicles. May rename this. Sometimes it works with Blade and sometimes it does not. There we go. Let's try it again. As you can see, now we have that link and then we have our vehicles listed here. So let's go ahead and also add that layout to this so that we can have some links and deal with some other things and have a better layout. Can do is use the app layout like we have for the dashboard, but also I've already configured this page for us. We go back to the installation files that I have given you. In the coderprise pages folder, there's an index.html right here. What we can do really is grab this and use it. Well, not all of it, but most of it. So let's go put that layout in first, and then we'll go ahead and grab this. Here, I'll go ahead and get rid of this, and then I can add X-app layout. And if you take a look at the dashboard, that's how it is too. In fact, we can grab just this for right now. So we have the header. Let's go ahead and grab the header for this. Go down. Be down somewhere around. There's a main right here. So I'm going to grab this. Just paste that in here. And this is just a vehicles with a listing. We're going to add the vehicle count in here. And there's also a create a vehicle button. For now, I'm going to get rid of this link because it doesn't really work for us. And that should be good. Let's also deal with the main part of this. Right down here, I'm going to grab this whole little section. Sit here. And then let's change what we don't really need. So we're going to have a success message. And this image, now I'll just put as our no image. I think it's JPG. Take a quick look. JPG. So that's good. And then we have a temporary make model. We have a list of, we're listed by, we don't have a name there yet, but here is another link. So I'm going to put a pound sign in there. And this is our little image thing, which I'm going to add if we don't have any vehicles. Get rid of this. Exclamation points in their defaults. And then this will be storage images defaults. And then it'll be the same thing here. So I'll just grab this, paste it in here. And then we're also going to have some pagination as well. Let's go to the browser and see what this looks like now. Okay, so very temporarily, we're still not getting this image, but for now, we do have these little images in here. Let's go up and see that really quick. Should be images. Defaults, no image. There it is. And so we have a basic scaffolding for our stuff. As you can see, this is kind of what it's going to look like. So let's go ahead and get our correct information in here so that we can see our vehicle images. Have our success image up here. So here's where we should be able to start looping through stuff. So I'm going to put a for else. Now, a for else is basically similar to the for each. With the concept of the for each, you can just loop over whatever it is you want to loop over. But with a for else, what it allows you to do is put something here if something has a false value. So up here, this would be for the truthy value, and for here would be for the false value. So we can go ahead and do vehicles as vehicle inside this div. This part we can put in the for else. This one we can put in the empty. Let's go ahead and just drag this over to make sure our divs line up correctly. And I should probably put the pagination in here as well. So the first thing that we have here is the image. Now, as I said, we are going to be using the Unsplash images, and right now we just have the little code for it. So for now, I'm going to use the Unsplash link. I'm going to add some curly brackets, and in here, we can do the vehicle image since we have that link to it. So for now, let's just make sure that we're getting this correctly. Okay, good. So we have a bit of a better layout. And let's grab the correct thing here. I must have typed something. We do have the other image, and it looks like we have 10 vehicles in here. The images .unsplash.com. These are what our images look like, most of our images. And that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and also do the make the model, all of the rest of this info. Vehicle to make as the first one, but it will be here, the first one, make model. Let's grab this so I don't have to keep typing it. This will be the price per day. For now, we'll keep the listed by as this lorem ipsum because we don't have the relationship to the user just yet. But we do have a description, so we can do that here. So this should be good. Let's check it out. Let's first get rid of this message. What we can really do is session, at session, success, and then we'll end session. And this will just be if we have a session message. If there is a success message, once we create edit, we'll be returned back to this. I think it's if we delete, but bygones. This is our success message. This will be put here. If it's not, then we'll continue to see the rest of the vehicles. Okay, so as you can see, that's gone. And now the other thing that we can do is also deal with this price. So let's go ahead and do that. Anything on Laravel, there's about 10 different ways to do this, and we can absolutely leave it. Something that you can do with prices is you can use PHP's number format, but for now, I am going to go ahead and put slash or divide it by 100. This will allow us to have cents in our price. So as you can see, 796.26. That's all that's doing, really. This is just a temporary solution for our project. I am going to be extracting this into an attribute a little bit later on, but for now, this is just how we're going to display our prices. So something else I want to do also is I have this hard-coded in our code right now, but I do want to reflect a correct vehicle count. Instead of hard-coding this 12, we'll do vehicles count. Now we have the correct amount of vehicles. The other thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that our styling is good if we don't have any vehicles in here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remigrate our database. just because we don't want any vehicles in here just yet. Create property name on null of user name. That's because it's our layout. So let's do this. Well, first, let's go ahead and add some middleware around this. And so now what we can do is temporarily, I'm going to add a route group. Auth, and the second one will be verified. We're not using any sanctum or anything like that. We're just using the basic authentication. So that's why this will be verified and we won't have like auth sanctum or something. Now I can take this, bring it up here, and let's see. Okay, great. So it sent us back to the login page, which now we don't have any users. So I'll go ahead to the register. I'll create a new user. Go to our vehicles page. So let's go ahead and fix this. Go down. We have our pagination here. And I'm going to actually bring it down one more. Let's check that out. Okay, so pagination is here. So I'm going to go ahead and comment this out for now. And as you can see, we're all the way on the left. I'm going to deal with this and put it in the center. And change up this styling for if we have vehicles or if we don't have vehicles, and we can adjust the classes on this div right here where, as you can see, we have a grid and just different things. So what I want to do is I can inject PHP into this, and then we can have a variable and we'll call it has vehicles. We'll say that that equals vehicles count. So now we can use this variable conditionally in order to show these classes based on whether or not we have vehicles. So to do that, can come down to this div right here, and I'm going to put an at class. And this is a Laravel directive. I'm not sure when they put these in. Like I said, I haven't really dealt with Blade that often, but my extension put in some sample code. So the class is P4 and fold if X, Y, and Z is true. But what we can do is we can say that is going to be the class. Let me get rid of this. Create some single quotations and slide that over. Too many quotations. This will be the classes that are represented if there are vehicles. So we can say if or vehicles. If this page has vehicles, we'll show this set of code. And if it's not, this set of code. No, has vehicles. Means now we can go ahead and get rid of this class because now we're showing it conditional. Let's try that. Now you can see we have, it's now in our center. Let's go see if our styling has changed now with actual vehicles. So let's see the database again. Our styling hasn't really changed all that much, and we are good. Let's fix our pagination. I want to see where it lines up on the page, and now it is currently at the bottom like it's supposed to be. The other thing I want to put is if there is pagination, register a new user, still there. So vehicles, okay, good. Just make sure that I didn't break that. We still have our pagination here, which we'll deal with a bit later. You can see here, this divided by 100 thing doesn't really quite work out with our prices, which is fine. I want to create an attribute because this isn't the only place that we're going to be displaying prices. We're also going to have an edit page and we're also going to have a show page. I want to have something that's a little bit more global in terms of these prices. So what we can do is I'll close these out. And I want to go to the vehicle model. And right under here is where we can do that. I want to create a notation here. And all I want to say is get the vehicle's calculated price. You can go ahead and make a public function so that it is available everywhere. And then we'll just put calculated price. This is going to be an attribute. And we can go ahead, open up some curly brackets, and we need to import this. This will be the Illuminate Database Eloquent Cast attribute that was imported up top. So what can we do here? Well, in this calculated price, what we can do is return a new attribute. And in this will be a function. And what we need to grab is the value and the attribute. It's not how you spell attributes. Now what we're going to do is say equals. Now we can use the PHP number format attributes. This is the attributes that's coming from the model that we're in. And we'll say price because that's the value that we're looking for. Outside of this regular bracket here, we can divide this now by 100. And then we need 2 decimal places. Semicolon at the end of that. Now that's basically all that is. It's converting the value of the price into a number format, where in it, we are dividing it by 100 and we're giving it 2 decimals. So it'll be like 3 cents, 4 cents, 5 cents, whatever it is. Previously like this. So public function, get price attribute. And then in here, you would do basically this. Return something like that. And it would be this attributes. Previously, you would use something like this. Now we're using it like this. It's just a little bit of a different thing that I'm trying to incorporate. And I figured I'd show you how to do it and to see how it works. So now this is something that we can use on the front end. So we can do vehicle calculated price, I think it is. Okay, so now you can see the prices have cents and they also have 2 decimal places. All of our values have 2 decimal places. So that's good. So now we have prices that we've manipulated on the front end. We also have an attribute where we can use anywhere in our blade files, even in the controllers or anything if we wanted to. This is something that we could use as well. There are 2 more things that I want to work on really quick, and that's because they're very quick changes, so we can just do them really quick. The first thing that I want to do is I don't want to just display all the vehicles. I want to display them by latest so that when we create them, it will be the first ones that we see. You might have also seen order by, something to that effect, but this is a Laravel shortcut for latest. It's a helper function. The other thing that we can do is instead of having get here, we can do paginate. And that's just a quick helper function to incorporate pagination into our project. So that we can see it, I'm just going to put 3 in here just so that we can see 3 vehicles on each page. Means now in the index, instead of pagination like it is here, we can use Laravel's helper functions that will say vehicle or vehicles links. If you go back to the bottom, you can see we have 1 to 3 of 10 results because we do have 10 vehicles, and you can see 3 vehicles at a time. There are arrows and links down here where if you click it, it'll take you to that next page. 3, it'll take you to the next page. And as you can see, the results change each time. And at the 4th, we are at the final result. So 10 of 10, 10 results, and some arrows that you can also use to go back and forth. And if you look up here, that little paginate function that we added in the controller now directs us to these URLs where we can type in which page we want to go to, and that's another way to navigate through the pages as well. Something that I do want to change is, based on how many vehicles we're displaying at any given time, that's what's being reflected in our vehicle count, which isn't what we want. In order to deal with this, what we can do is replace vehicles count with a variable. We can go here to the controller, and we'll say vehicle count equals vehicle count. Now we can use this variable, index, we can say vehicle count. So now you can see we have total vehicles instead of just the vehicles that are being displayed on any given page. Now I'm going to go ahead and change this to, since we have a 3-grid layout, I'm going to change this to 9 instead of 3. So here in the vehicle controller, go ahead and just change this to 9 instead of 3. So now we have 9 vehicles on the page instead of just one random one hanging out here. If you're interested in knowing how the pagination works, I highly suggest looking at the Laravel documentation, as it gives you a lot of information. Just in the search bar, just type in pagination, and you can go down to database pagination, and it will bring you to this page here, where it shows you how you can use pagination very simply. You can have just a simple paginate, which will display only the next and previous links in the UI instead of having it like we have it. You can just do all sorts of different things. There's a cursor paginate, which is pretty cool. Multiple paginator instances per page. And I think this is a really good set of documentations in order to be able to see how this works under the hood. Now, to the people in my community who watch all the way to the end, you'll be most likely to hear this. I want to say thank you for reaching out. In last week's episode, I let you guys know that I was sick and I'm still really not quite feeling very well. But I did want to say thank you for reaching out and sending well wishes. You've been emailing me, sending me messages. And I really do want to tell you that I appreciate that. It means a lot that you guys actually care. I appreciate that. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you're enjoying the content, please go ahead and click that like button, as it really does help out the channel. Here's a video YouTube thinks you'll like, and here's a playlist to follow along. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.